Hey guys, welcome to the CO visit. Colin here, always my trusty coffee. Just got home from work literally a few minutes ago. I changed and tired, very tired. But here I am because I had to do this video. I had this topic already. Mm. There's something that, as a Jehovah's Witness, we all learn to do to a certain extent, and myself in particular, I became very, very good at it. But it's something that none of us should learn how to do, much less become good at. It's not something to be proud of. It's not something to celebrate. If anything, it's something that develops in certain people because of circumstances that they can't control, and that's none of their fault. But in our case, it was a controllable situation. It was completely unnecessary, but it marks the rest of our lives. Because once you have it, it's not something you can easily just undo. Especially in the case of born in witnesses, we become particularly skillful at this. What am I talking about? To get right to the point, well, it's what psychology calls emotional disconnection or disassociation. It's a psychological disorder. Generally, you see it in people who are raised in dysfunctional, traumatic situations where there's abuse and things like that. And it's characterized, the signs of it, it's characterized by people who can, just on a dime, disconnect their emotions, disconnect from situations that in normal cases would be something important to them, maybe a relationship, a friendship, something they feel towards another person, love, whatever it might be. And then all of a sudden, at the drop of a hat, they can just walk away like nothing was ever there, like they don't even know you. It's a defense mechanism. It's a way that people disconnect their emotions to try to lessen the blow, lessen the pain of a situation that generally they can't control. Sound familiar? As Jehovah's Witnesses, all of us were taught to disconnect emotionally. We were taught to have dissociative disorder. In my case, since I can remember when I was growing up, this is applied to when somebody was disfellowshipped from the congregation or when somebody left, if they disassociated. So speaking of words, don't confuse dissociate with disassociate. Okay? Different things. So as long as I can remember, when I was growing up, when someone was to be disfellowshipped from the congregation or after it happened, we were told they would sit down with us. I remember my parents and even others, and we were told not to think about that person. We were not to feel bad for them. You're not to grieve for them. Because, number one, this was a loving arrangement from Jehovah. Number two, it was necessary to keep the congregation united and keep the peace in the congregation, the spirit of the congregation. And number three, they brought it on themselves. It was because they were unrepentant. So there was no reason to feel bad for that person or feel sad because they were now absent and we couldn't talk to them anymore. They would tell us, don't feel bad for that person. They brought it on themselves. And this is a loving arrangement. It's to help them to come back. And so when you're a young child and you have these older people telling you, don't feel that, don't feel this way, because you would have natural feelings, because you wouldn't always understand what this disfellowshipping process was all about. You just knew that all of a sudden you couldn't talk to this person anymore. It was prohibited. And so they would kind of scold you and say, you shouldn't be feeling bad, or what are you crying about, or what are you? And so what would happen? You would dissociate from your feelings. You would suck it up. You would tell yourself, well, I can't feel that anymore for this person, and you would just shut it off. And as a young person, you would learn how to do that. And then as you get older and you did it more and more and more, it just becomes like an instinct. It becomes like a reflex, like a switch. Someone's out of your life, flip the switch. You don't feel anything. Person comes back, flip the switch. All of a sudden you can feel again. And I found out, to my dismay, I didn't realize just how indoctrinated I had become. I didn't realize how conditioned I was and how good I was at simply switching off my emotions when it was convenient. And after I was a witness, after I left the organization, I was very good at doing it. And I used it to my advantage. After I was experimenting with all of a sudden seeing other people in other relationships, and when a relationship was kind of starting to go south, or simply I didn't want to do it anymore, I was bored, I wasn't interested in this person anymore, I got what I wanted, then what did I do? I simply flipped the switch, switched off the emotions. And then the person would sit there and wonder, what kind of a sociopath, psychopath was I? That I could just all of a sudden, one day to the next, not feel anything. I had lots of practice. And I'm not going to lie to you guys, till this day, even now, that I've tried a lot, I try to change that aspect of my personality. I try to not do that, but it's still there. It's still there. To the extent that sometimes, whether you want it to or not, it just happens. And you find yourself having to force yourself to feel what you know intellectually you should be feeling. It's quite a strange thing. Quite a strange thing. Quite a feeling when you're able to literally intellectually disconnect yourself from feelings. And you know what you should be feeling, you know what the appropriate way is, but you don't feel it. It's simply not there once it gets shut off. And usually, once it gets shut off and you've told yourself that you're done with whatever that is, then if you try to get it back, it's usually not the same. What a terrible thing. What a terrible thing. What a monster, really, that the organization created in us. Really is tremendous. These are things that we have to admit to ourselves. We have to talk about. I have to put this out there, and I can't use anybody else except myself as an example. But I know many of you have the same quality. Not easy. And like I said at the beginning, it's not something to be proud of, but it's something I'm very capable of. If I want to just not care about something, I can shut it off just like that. Problem is with that, though, is there is a consequence to it. That's something they don't talk about. That's something they don't tell you. In the long term, those emotions that you shut out, those emotions that you shut off, they're still there. It's kind of like taking a painkiller. Painkiller, what it does is the chemical in the medicine bonds to pain receptors in your brain, and it blocks the reception of those that electricity that you're getting from your synapses that tells you I'm feeling pain. It's still there. You just can't feel it. It's masked. It's hidden. And what happens when the painkiller wears off? All that pain comes back, and it's a lot worse because you've been how long without actually feeling it, and it's normal, right? But when you haven't felt it for a long time, it comes back double. That's what happens with dissociating emotionally. Sooner or later, you will feel those feelings. And you know what happens to a lot of people that have dissociative disorder? Usually, they turn to some type of substance and they become addicted. Alcohol, drugs, because when those emotions come back, it's too much to bear. And it doesn't just come back alone. They come back in pairs. Those feelings come back, and you know what those feelings are. You know where they're coming from, what situation it was from. You shut it off, you buried it away, and now it's coming back to charge you with interests. And what happens? Now it comes back with guilt. It comes back with shame because of what you should have felt at that moment. That compassion that you should have felt for that person, the love that you should have felt, now it comes back, but it's too late. Way too late. So what do? You turn to a bottle, you turn to pills, you turn to injections, whatever it might be, to bury that pain away again. And the vicious cycle goes on and on and on. I fell into that too for many years. So sometimes it helps us to have a little bit of compassion and understanding of people who fall into addictions. There's always a reason. It's not just because. And we should especially be understanding when people who are coming out of a high control group, a religious group, they have religious trauma, emotional trauma, fall into addictions. Shouldn't be hard to understand. Well, anyway, I want to thank you guys for watching this video. If you're still here, you can always like and subscribe to the channel. There's the super thanks, there's the memberships. Thank you. And I want to send a shout out to my friend Jeff for always supporting the channel. I didn't realize it because, like I said, YouTube for some reason is not sending notifications like it used to. But he's a member now, so once again, the first member, others, it's open to you as well. So I'm going to be getting some things together here, some special perks for the members. So be patient, and thank you for watching. Be blessed, and I'll see you in the next one.